The idea is, how do we take what's incredibly unique about all of us and figure out, how do I submit myself to the will of God for the whole and then move forward? The truth is, unity happens when individuality and diversity submit to something bigger than themselves. Verse 15. Now, if the foot should say, because I'm not a hand, I do not belong to the body, it would not for that reason stop being a part of the body. And if the ear should say, because I'm not an eye, I do not belong to the body, it would not for that reason stop being a part of the body. If the whole body were an eye, where would the sense of hearing be? If the whole body were an ear, where would the sense of smell be? But in fact, God has placed the parts in the body, every one of them, just as he wanted them to be. If they were all one part, where would the body be? As it is, there are many parts, but one body. The eye cannot say to the hand, I don't need you. And the head cannot say to the feet, I don't need you. When I read that, one of the biggest things that I take away from it is this reality. Uniformity is not required for unity. Uniformity is not required for unity. So look, it doesn't actually help if everybody's an eye. It doesn't help if everyone is an ear. Like, it's the tension of bringing something unique to the table while at the same time wrestling with the idea that we should all be moving in the same direction. And that is difficult for a lot of folks. If you're entrepreneurial at all, this is gonna be a struggle for you because you've got a million ideas. But the truth is that your entrepreneurial ability a lot of times needs to be submitted to the idea of, how do we get all of these people moving in the same direction? You might be passionate about something, right? And honestly, it might not be a bad thing that you're passionate about. But the truth is, if your passion leaves you out wandering with just a few people from the body, I'm not sure that you're getting the most out of your passion anymore. The idea is, how do we take what's incredibly unique about all of us and figure out, how do I submit myself to the will of God for the whole and then move forward? The truth is, uniformity is not what we're looking for. It's not what Jesus desires. Uniformity creates monotony. Monotony is boring and ineffective. The truth is, unity happens when individuality and diversity submit to something bigger than themselves. For those that were listening to this and had any connection to Rome at all, this wouldn't have been a new concept. It wasn't like this was breaking news for anyone that knew anything about Roman history. If you had gone back just to the early start of the Roman Empire, like 494 BC, there was something called the conflict of the orders that took place. It was between the patricians, or the aristocrats, and the plebeians, or the commoners. And at some point, the commoners got sick and tired of pulling their weight. And they're like, look, we do all the farming, we do all the merch shops, like we run the city. And there's the aristocrats that just sit up there and they just they own the land and they're just making money off of our hard work. And they're enjoying all these things that we as the commoners are providing, so we're done. We're done. And so they go on strike. They go out to a mountain and they just seclude themselves and we're not doing this anymore. We're just not gonna do it. And so the Roman crew got together and said, hey, we need someone to go talk to them. And so they sent a well-known politician named Menius Agrippa. And if you're familiar with Roman history, then there's a fable attached to his name that's often talked about in Roman history. And so he goes out and he tells this fable. That's where it comes from. And so Menius was one of those guys that everyone liked. The aristocrats liked him, the commoners liked him. So when he goes out there to talk to them, they're like, all right, we're willing to listen. We're willing to listen. What do you have? And he begins to tell them a story. He said, there is a body. And the body started saying to themselves, the hands got together with the feet and the mouth, and they started saying to themselves, look, that stomach is lazy, okay? Hands, mouth, feet talking together. That stomach is lazy. We do all the work. Feet, you take us out and do the work. Hands, you grab the food. Mouth, you chew it up. And then the belly just reaps the rewards. The belly just takes in all the work that we do and just sits there and gets full and just digests it. And what does it do? What does the belly do? It does absolutely nothing to get any of those things. And so they decided hands, mouth, foot. That's a disease, by the way. Hand, foot. Yeah, I just thought about that. Hand, foot, and mouth. They decide, that's right. They decide we're not doing it anymore. We're done. Stop. Psh, we'll teach the belly. We'll teach it. So, first day, belly's growling. Hey, can I get some food? You know? And it's like, no, we ain't doing that no more. Feet ain't taking us. Hands ain't grabbing it. Mouth ain't chewing it. No. You do nothing. Until you start to do something, we're not doing anything. Next day, belly's complaining. Gosh, I'm getting hungry. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, we can get something going. We ain't doing it. Week passes. All of a sudden, it's not just the belly complaining. You see, the hands realize that they're growing weak. And the feet realizes it's growing weak. And the mouth realizes it's growing weak. And what they had done to teach the belly a lesson was actually just harming themselves. You see, they didn't realize that while the belly just does sit there until it receives the nourishment, but then the belly begins to disperse the nourishment so the rest of the body can do what it needs to do. So you starve the belly, you starve yourself. You see, when Paul was having this conversation, this wasn't breaking news. It made sense to them. And the truth is, Paul hits it in the very next verse, verse 26. He says this, if one part suffers, every part suffers with it. If one part is honored, every part rejoices with it. Now you are the body of Christ, and each one of you is part of it. That's big. If one of you suffer, everybody suffers. If one of you is honored, everybody rejoices. You're the body of Christ. Each one of you is part of it. So my question is this. What is your part? Now, it's rhetorical in so much that I don't need you to say it out loud. But it's not rhetorical in so much that you should answer that in your head right now. What is your part in the body of Christ? And if in your mind it's blank, you're like, I actually don't know. If in your mind it's blank, let me give you a first step to start a conversation. You should text the word unique to the number we'll throw back up on the screen. Like if I just asked you, what is your part in the body of Christ? And you don't know. This is a great place to start. This is not going to give you your answer, by the way, but this is going to be a catalyst to really get you thinking like, okay, what could it be? What could it be? What do I contribute? What has God uniquely made me for?